Hey everybody, welcome to Hump Day Hangouts. This is episode number 95, and today is the last day of August, the 31st, 2016. We got almost everybody here, but we'll go down the short list. I believe we're missing Chris right now. He might pop in later. But Hernan, how's it going?
Hey guys, hey everyone, how's everyone doing? It's really good to be here.
Good, good. Marco, what's up?
What's up, man? Warm, but
Yep.
it's raining. Raining again, man. 2
that's
days
all
in a
right.
row.
Into every life, a little rain must fall.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Bradley, how's it going?
It's going well, man. Happy to be here. Excited about our Content Kingpin launch. It's ongoing right now, so I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that, but I'm happy to get started.
Definitely, definitely. Well, I wanted to remind people, obviously everybody here, or let me rephrase that, everybody watching should be able to count. So we're at episode 95, and instead we might do something on episode 100, but we were just talking about this. We're definitely going to do something special for episode 104. All right, so that's going to be, there's 52 weeks in a year, so episode 104 will be, the big mark for us. So that's going to be
anniversary.
2 years. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So stay tuned for that. We'll obviously be putting out some information on what's going on there. And then, if you've opened your emails, hopefully you've seen them and you check them out. If you're interested, add all in content. I'm going to have Bradley talk about Content Kingpin real quick. And also, we wanted to let people know, too, that this isn't just written content, right? There's also a video component to this. So, Bradley, if you want to talk about that real quick.
Yeah, so I'm posting on the event page right now the Content Kingpin Q&A webinar that we did yesterday. So I'm posting an event page, guys, so that you can see the posted questions as well. And you're more than welcome to go check that out if you want to. It wasn't a pitch webinar. It was just basically, okay, here's what the course is. This is what it's about. This is the origins of it, how I developed it, why I developed it, and what's inside. And we walked through the members area to show the training. And then we brought Zane on to talk about the Tube Kingpin, which is the upsell. It's the offer that talks about how Content Kingpin is focused around blog syndicate or blog content. So creating content for either money sites, your own sites, money sites, client sites, and also for link building, content curation and content creation for link building. So that's what that covers. But then there's Tube Kingpin, which is the upsell. Zane Miller put that together, and that's about curating videos on YouTube and being able to use those to drive massive amounts of traffic to wherever you want. Very, very powerful method. So both of those are covered in detail in the webinar that we did yesterday. And again, it's not a pitch webinar. I mean, literally, the link is on the webinar page if you want to buy it, but just go check it out. Hopefully it'll get some questions answered. And we certainly encourage you guys to pick it up right now while it's dirt cheap, because the price rises, I think, tomorrow, doesn't it?
Yes, sir. Tomorrow morning.
Okay. So the price goes up tomorrow for, I think, 4 days, and then it lands on its final resting price, which is
yeah, once the 7-day launch is over, we'll have it at an evergreen price beyond
it'll
that.
be our evergreen price. That's right. Yep. So if you're on the fence, I'd get it today, because of tomorrow the price goes up another $20, and then it goes up another $30 about a few days later. So get it now while it's cheap. It's stupid cheap right now, guys. So anyways, that said, anything else we need to cover?
I think we're good. Marco or Hernan, you got anything?
I think we're good.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, let's do this.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and grab the screen, and we'll get right into questions. I see quite a few good questions already, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit on it this time, guys, because I think it'll make it easier for everybody else. So, starting right at the bottom. Let's see. Hello, Bradley. I hope you're doing great. I have a question regarding IFTTT and Syndwire. First of all, Syndwire has some blogs that can embed video on, but does not integrate with IFTTT, like LiveJournal, SOS blogs, and Jimdo. So I was thinking, create 3 subdomains on my self-hosted WordPress site, and using IFTTT to syndicate my video to these 3 subdomains, then use these 3 subdomain RSS as a trigger for Syndwire, so Syndwire can auto-post my video to LiveJournal, SOS blogs, and Jimdo. It's like having additional 3 properties to syndicate my video automatically. I plan to no-index these 3 subdomains, but I know Google may crawl it, but it won't index it. Yeah, that's correct. So my question is, if I no-index these 3 subdomains, will Google tie these 3 properties with my 3 subdomains and trigger a penalty, or am I overthinking stuff? You're overthinking stuff. No-indexing the subdomain and then syndicating content to the Web 2 doesn't mean that the Web 2 post won't index. Okay, it really makes no difference. It'll be the attribution link will point back to a link that's set to no index, but that's not a problem. That's not a that's not an issue. You're just telling Google not to index it. So yeah, you're overthinking. Don't worry about that. You'll be fine to do that. Okay. Assume the above scenario is possible. Is it safe to use the title of my video as the anchor text? Let's see. If I have 3 Tier 2 networks, is there a specific ratio you follow for all of your IFTTT do follow properties? Let's see. Is it safe to use the title of my video as the anchor text? Is it for a video network or a blog syndication network? Let's see. I'm looking through here again. He's talking about embedding video, so it sounds like it's a video embed network that you're doing, but you're using some blogs for additional syndication. In that case, I would say it'd be fine, because you're trying to rank the videos, not necessarily the blog post itself. Correct? I mean, that's just my assumption based on the rest of your question. So yeah, I mean, I just hammer away. Like whenever I'm doing, for example, with video recipes, you can edit the video recipes that we provide to either link with the raw URL or naked URL, or you can use the title, or the and you can use tokens within IFTTT to do that, right? The tokens are the what they call the ingredients. You can select entry URL or entry title, and so you can actually code your attribution links, or excuse me, the link in the description of the recipe, if you know what I'm talking about, because typically we do the embed code and then we link to the actual video, which again can either be a naked URL, it could be any anchor text you want, you just code it into the recipe, or you use the video title. And then we always link back to the channel. And in the channel you can link to various pages on the channel. For example, you could link to just the main channel URL, you could link to the about page, you could link to the playlist page, you could link to the videos page. It really doesn't matter. There's several pages you could use to link to, and again, the anchor text can be changed out for the channel link as well, right? You could have a naked URL, or you could use anchor text or the channel name. The channel name is anchor text, or keywords, whatever you want to do. So all I recommend is, if it's a video network, just if you've got 3 different subdomains, what I would do is I would just kind of interchange the recipes slightly, just vary them a little bit. So, for example, if on the first subdomain site, maybe use recipes that are just all title anchor text, and then for the second subdomain you use just naked URL anchor text, and for the third one you could use generics or whatever. All I'm saying is just kind of switch it up a little bit, add some diversity. If it's blog properties, it's different, guys. If you're doing blog syndication, first of all, I don't recommend having a whole bunch of. I don't recommend really doing the 2-tier networks. We've talked about that 1,000 times, unless you're minimizing your footprint a bit with reducing your footprint by using Tier 2 related content triggers, in which case you're typically going to be linking back with the anchor text is going to be the actual link, the title of the post that you're syndicating is going to be the attribution link. If you've got an internal link in the blog post itself, remember this is if you're syndicating a blog post. If you're using the blog post itself to create an internal link to a page on your site, which is what we teach, then you just got to be aware of your anchor text. If you're using a 2-tier network, you got to be a bit more careful, because you have to recognize that your anchor text is going to be syndicated to not only your 3 blog properties on Tier 1, but then an additional 9 blog properties on Tier 2, because each Tier 2 ring has an additional 3 blog properties. And if you're doing the full text post feed, if you're using, syndicating the full text post, then that anchor text will get syndicated as well. And so it's okay to still use a 2-tier network for blog syndication. I don't recommend it, but if you want to do it, you just have to be aware of that. And so in that case, I typically like to just use naked URLs or generics or very broad terms, and I'm cognizant of that when I'm, my virtual assistants, whoever is doing the posting, is always aware of that, so that they vary the anchor text from post to post, so that we're not always hammering away on the same keywords, because then you can get over-optimized anchor text. That makes sense. Okay. Reason I was asking, because if above strategy work, I can use Syndwire to auto-syndicate blog content to 6 more PDF sites, 1 more blog site that IFTTT doesn't integrate with. Now I'm in doing video, but would love to know about doing blog syndication. Okay, well, I hopefully answered both of those in that long spiel. So we'll get to number 3. If the strategy works, I will have an additional 7 more properties to syndicate to. If I were to interlink additional 7 of them, is it going to look spammy? I have interlinked every IFTTT site and live stream site. Should I interlink these 7 additional properties, or should I just leave them? If they're branded properties, yeah, go ahead and well, let me rephrase that. On Tier 1, you'd want to brand them, right? On Tier 2, they would each be branded for the persona or the profile or whatever the brand is for your Tier 2 networks. But yes, I would interlink them because once again, it's what we're trying to do is establish and validate an entity. And so the more properties out there on the web that you can get that you can associate with a profile or a persona or a brand, the better. Okay. And by the way, there's a couple of other announcements I did forget to mention. Number one, we're going to do the IFTTT update webinar for V2. The monthly update webinar is probably going to be scheduled for next Tuesday afternoon. We usually do it immediately following Hump Day Hangouts, but next Wednesday we have MasterClass, and so it would be 2 weeks before we could get to the update webinar, and we're due, so I'm thinking I'm going to schedule it for Tuesday, but I'm not 100% sure. If it's not Tuesday, it'll be the following Wednesday, guys. One other thing I wanted to mention was next week we're doing a special webinar from 4:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern. So Hump Day Hangouts will still be on next week, guys, but we're going to push it 30 minutes early, and I didn't even tell my partners about this. So guys, just so you know, we're doing Hump Day Hangouts 30 minutes early next week.
Thank you, Bradley.
Yeah. Well, we got a special webinar. We're probably going to make it public. I'm not 100% sure yet, but we're going to do a special webinar for MasterClass next week, and it'll be a 90-minute webinar starting at 4:30 p.m. and running until 6 p.m. Eastern. So just so you guys know.
You never talk to us, man.
Yeah. No, I made an executive decision.
Okay.
So, but yeah, Wong, I would say go ahead and just, I would absolutely recommend that you interlink to properties, but you interlink them network specific. In other words, your Tier 2 networks, all the properties for Tier 2A is going to be interlinked. All network properties for Tier 2B will be interlinked, right? You don't want to cross-link between Tier 2A and Tier 2B, and same goes for Tier 2C. You don't want to do any cross-linking between any of those, but you do want to interlink all the properties within the same network, okay? That helps to just build more authority and validate the properties or the entity, the persona, the profile, whatever. All right? Another one from Adam says, hey guys, good day. Quick question. Have you come across crowd social signals? It claims drip-fed by real people. Does it help to improve the trust level of the domain? Thanks. I saw your question earlier, Adam, and I went ahead and clicked on it or pulled it up, and this looks totally like a Dan Anton service. I'm almost 100% sure it is because it's got an interface very similar to what Crowd Search has. So I'm pretty sure this is one of his new services. We're going to reach out to him and get a little bit more information on it. I have not tested this or anything yet, but I damn ought, I should be in the beta testing group because we do a lot of stuff with crowd search as it is, and I'm assuming this is a similar service to crowd search, except it's a social signal service, so crowdsourced social signals. So from my initial impression, without testing it or anything else, if it's a Dan Anton service, it's a solid service, and it looks something that we definitely would want to test and give our honest review about. So we're going to be reaching out to Dan to find out more about it. Unfortunately, I don't have any more information for you at the moment, but maybe by next Wednesday we'll have a little bit of data for you, an opinion. But I can tell you just from first look that Dan Anton services are usually really solid services, so I would say it's probably a good service. All right. Bob's question. He says, I just finished building my first IFTTT syndication network. Everyone go +1, Bob's, because that's a milestone. Most of it went smoothly, but when I went to put links in my OneNote account, I got a message saying my Outlook account has been temporarily suspended. Other than the initial setup, there has been no activity on that account, so I'm not sure why it was suspended. Any thoughts on why this would happen? I may not be able to make the Hump Day Hangout live, but please answer so I can check it out on the replay. Okay, Bob. I haven't actually seen that, specifically from adding links. I know Outlook, those accounts can get locked fairly easily because of like IP issues. If you've got, like for example, and I don't know that this is the case, but I'm saying if you created the account with a proxy and then you logged into the account without a proxy, sometimes it would trigger, it will lock the account and it will trigger a re-verification, and they're a bitch to re-verify. Outlook accounts are. So that may have been an issue. I don't know that that's what you did. I'm just saying, if your IPs had changed from, logging in one time to logging in another, that may have been an issue. As far as actually adding links and having it saying temporarily suspended, I have not seen that. So I really can't troubleshoot it without or give you any suggestions. My first guess would be that it would, it's most likely an IP issue. You were on a dirty IP or something like that. If you were using a proxy, It could have been a proxy that's been blacklisted or flagged or something like that. If you were using your own IP, then maybe maybe they're just cracking down on stuff. And if we start getting more reports of that, we'll have to dig into it a lot deeper and figure out what's going on. All right. Clark says, I have a new client that has 3 locations. Each location has a verified but not optimized Google My Business listing. I will be creating a new website and want to use IFTTT network to best advantage. Should I use one network or do I need one for each location? All right, Clark, this is definitely a good question. We get this asked a lot. I recommend that if you've got one network and it's for the same client, the same brand, in other words, the same business, but they've just got 3 different locations, then it's perfectly fine to use one network for all 3 locations. Okay? So there's a couple ways that you can do that. You can have each one of the locations, if they each have their own, like I'm not, you say it has its, each location has its own Google My Business listing, so I don't know whether you have one website or 3 websites. If you have one website, then it makes it easy because you just would syndicate to the one network from one website. Right, and you might have 3 separate landing pages on that domain for the 3 different locations, and that's perfectly fine. Now, if you have 3 separate websites, there's a couple things that you can do, which is typically how I build stuff out, because I usually build a corporate, a corporate website on the root domain, which is essentially just a billboard. Right, it's just this is the company, this is what we do, here's our contact information, and then there's a locations page or directory right on the website that then they can click through to go to the individual location websites, which are usually on subdomains. That's just how I build my, that's how I build my structure whenever I'm building a multi-location site. Okay, and so I'm just going to give you both versions of it here. If it's one website with 3 separate landing pages, yes, one network's fine, and you won't have any issues. If you got 3 separate websites, then what you can do is still use one network, but what you do is you create 3 sets of recipes, because each separate website can have its own RSS feed, right? So you could have essentially 3 sets of recipes triggering the same IFTTT network because you're using 3 separate RSS feeds as triggers, right? One for each location. Alternatively, you could choose one location to be the main blog and just blog from that. And again, this is if you have 3 separate websites. You could choose just one website to be the blog, or put a blog on a subdomain or something like that, and call that, and just use that as a content distribution engine, and then syndicate all your content from one location, one website, but still use that blog to build links to all 3 locations or all 3 separate sites. If that makes sense. So the point is that it doesn't. Yes, you can get away with one network depending on how you built your infrastructure or the structure of the site. I recommend just using posting from one location because it's just easier. Like, I don't know if you do that yourself or if you outsource the content, the blogging part of it, which I highly recommend that you do. But like for my virtual assistants that do my curators and bloggers, they typically will log into one root domain and then build links to all of the subdomain sites from their root domain by blogging from the root domain, and then we just have the root domain set up with categories. Each location has its own category. That way we're actually kind of like siloing the content within the specific category, and the category links over to the subdomain site, that the corresponding subdomain site. That makes sense. So it's not. I don't want to say, there's a few different ways to do it, but one network is definitely suitable for all 3 locations if it's the same brand. All right. Next one, you show how to add additional locations on Google My Maps listing in the RYS case study. My question, is there a best practice limit to the number of pins and videos that can be added? I have a customer that has a service area that includes over 80 individual cities and named neighborhoods. Can I add them all? If yes, should I add them all at once or edit my maps listing over time? Thanks. Clark, I'm going to let Marco respond to this one, but I can tell you, yes, you can add all of them. Marco, is there any issue on the timing of that? I don't think there is.
Oh,
okay.
No, he says 80 individuals. We have run into a limit. I think I forget what our VA said it was, but it's somewhere around 500. Now you have to remember, the more iframes and that would be videos that you add to that map, the more it's going to slow it down when it scripts it over. That's the only real issue. It's how much how much of a burden you're putting on the resources. But no, you can add as many pins as you want and as many cities. You're going to have to layer them. You get to a point where it'll only accept so many pins, but you just add a layer and then you'll add more pins. You add another layer and add more pins until you get to the limit. I forget. I can check it and put it in later. But we ran across this already. That just also depends because sometimes my map will rank, right? Not the map. It's not in the map pack, but the map URL.
Right.
And it all depends on how spammy you want it to look, because it can look really bad. Trust me, we've done it, right, man? I think I showed you that case study with that SEO plus city thing.
Yeah.
We went everywhere.
And that's why I knew 80 cities could be added, because I think there was hundreds of pins on that map. So.
Yeah, and now what he could do is like split it up by areas, like north, south, east, west, or however it is that the city's divided, whatever it is that he's targeting. And I'm giving away too much, but he could divide it up, right? Reach out to me in RYS Academy, man, and ask me this question, and I can give you more guidance. But the quick answer is yes. And then on the previous question, I would say that for each location, you do an RYS stack, a separate RYS stack for each location, so that you carry relevancy over to the location.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you. Okay, so guys, a milestone. We hit 3,000 subscribers. 3,000 subscribers today on our YouTube channel. Mastery. So that's we want to thank everybody for that. That's really incredible. We were I think I remember we were doing Hump Day Hangouts, and I think we were like around, I don't know, episode 15 or 20 when we passed the 1,000 mark. Like, we were on the Hump Day Hangouts, and I think we were at like 996 subscribers, and I was like, go subscribe to our channel right now. We're going to give something to the 1,000th subscriber. And so it's we've come a long way since then. It's pretty cool to see us hit that 3,000 mark, guys, so we really appreciate that, and I wanted to share that with y'all. Okay, Scott says, hey, Bradley, I was going to ask this question in Masterclass, but the link said that the next webinar is Wednesday, the September 7th, which is too long of a wait. Question, where exactly is the Masterclass training, or excuse me, where exactly in the Masterclass training does it show how to build and optimize a website step by step? Not able to find it. Thanks. Scott, I would suggest most likely you're talking about if it's a local site, and that's what I can assume. There's 2 case studies that I went through where I built the site basically step by step, and because the Masterclass training's only an hour each time, I don't go through in real time and build it, but what I would do is every single week I would plan, at the end of the Masterclass webinar, I would say what the plan was for the to-do list for the next week. And then the following week, I would immediately go in and show the work that was done that was proposed the previous week, and then walk through what was done, how it was done, and why it was done. And then we would go through and set up for the next week and do that like that. So there's 2 case studies in there. There's a local case study, and then there's the launch stack, and well, actually 3 case studies: a launch stack, and affiliate case study, and all 3 of them were set up with the same sort of format.
Yeah, and I think he's probably going to want to start with the local case study.
Yes.
1, that's first in the series, and then 2, that I know that you definitely went into detail with the website set up there. Not that you didn't in the others, but I think that's going to be the one he should probably go through.
Yep.
That's about 6 or 7. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, it's 6, 7, or 8, even 8 classes.
Yeah, I think it's 7 with a Q&A. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and we went into great detail on that, guys, and that local case study is still just ranking like crazy. I think 4 out of the 5 keywords are in the Maps 3-pack that I had originally optimized for, and I haven't touched that since I think July of last year. So it's definitely a solid way if you just go through the training.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it now too. If anybody listening right now is in IFTTT SEO Academy, and this is sounding like good stuff to you, you should hop into the masterclass. I'll put the link up there, but you get access to all this stuff, and you get access to the SEO Academy, IFTTT SEO Academy stuff.
Yeah, just so they understand that if they subscribe to Masterclass, then we cancel your IFTTT payments, guys, because Masterclass includes IFTTT SEO Academy. And also, there used to be a drip schedule on all the archived content, but that's all been removed. So when you sign up now, you get literally a content dump of, a year and a half worth of content, and so it's all up to you. You go at your own pace, as much take as little or as much as you want.
And if I can just throw in my 2 cents worth, our shit works. Period.
Enough said. So, all right, Chick's up next. He says, hey guys, is there a poster example of your recommended way to optimize a post for IFTTT networks, specifically for giving attributions to the page that I want to rank? Thank you. I believe it's in the best practices training, Chick. If you go into the IFTTT members area, you know, the Academy members area, if you go look at the advanced training, there should be some training in there for that. Okay, but really it's very simple, guys. You just, when you're blogging from your main money site, which is what you should be doing, syndicating your network, you want to use contextual links from within the post to link to the pages on the site that you're trying to rank. Typically you're not trying to rank the blog post. That's not always the case. I mean, sometimes you want to rank the blog post, or sometimes you just rank the blog post without even really doing it intentionally, and that's fantastic. But most of the time you're trying to use the blog to rank the pages. That's kind of the point, right? And so, you know, there's 3 different ways, and I talk about this often. Maybe we make a FAQ out of this, Adam, if you want to mark this right now. But there's 3 different ways to create a link to your page from within the blog post. Okay, so number 1 is a traditional contextual link, which just means within the content of the post, you link typically with keyword anchor text to the page that you want to rank. Okay, and that anchor text link is going to get syndicated out to your branded network, and then if you have a 2-tier network, it goes out to tier 2 as well. But again, I really don't recommend doing that, guys. And you know, but you can if you want. Anyways, so that's the typical, you know, traditional way. That's option number 1, and that's just using a contextual link within the body of the post. Right. Number 2 is to curate content from one of your pages. So, especially if you're using content curation for your blog, which is what we highly recommend. You know, shameless plug once again for Content Kingpin. If you don't have that training, go pick it up right now before the price goes up. But you know, curating content, if you're curating content already for your blog, which means you're citing content sources, high authority, hopefully content that has a lot of social engagement as well, but you're grabbing snippets of other people's content and you're adding that to the post, and then you're citing the source, right? Well, you can cite your own content as the source. So when you go to create a curated style link, you will typically use the page title as the anchor text and link to that page, okay? That's not always the case. You can switch it up. You can use a generic. You could say like read more or learn more or continue reading or something like that and use that as the actual link. That's fine too. Okay, so option number 1, remember, contextual link. Option number 2 would be to curate some content from the page that you're trying to rank, and then link to that page with the title of the page, you know, the page title itself, or with like a generic or something like that. Okay. The third option is a recommended resources or additional reading or related content or whatever, something like that, which is essentially like most curated type blogs have at the bottom, guys, and some of the biggest blogs on the web have this, and you guys will recognize this, but at the bottom it says related content or recommended reading, additional content, whatever you want to call it, but then it's a bullet list of 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever articles and links pointing to other articles that reinforce or kind of reinforce the overall theme or topic of the post, right? It's like a continued reading type stuff. And so you could always add a link to your page within that as well. And again, all of that is very, in the IFTTT training itself, there should be some training for that, but then also in Content Kingpin, most recently, we go into that extensively. Hopefully that's helpful, though. So there's 3 different ways that you can use to actually link out to your page. Just remember, you don't want to hammer the same keywords over and over again. So that's why it's good to even vary the type of links from contextual to citation, or citation link, or curated type link to recommended reading style link, because that varies the link type as well as the anchor text and everything else, and that's what you kind of want, is some diversity. All right. Shannon says, I know Content Kingpin is out, but I have not received it yet, so I was considering picking up Curation Suite. Will that work with Kingpin, or is it not needed? Yes, it's Content Kingpin teaches you how to curate and why, which I think is key. But yes, there are tools like Curation Suite which we recommend in the actual training. that can help you to be a hell of a lot more efficient with it. I mean, you can totally do it manually with free tools. That's how all of my content marketing team does. They do it 100% manually using free tools.
Use Curation Suite. It is awesome.
Yeah, it is. And I mentioned this in the webinar we did yesterday. If I had to train my team over again, I would have trained them on Curation Suite. And they'd be using that because it would make them even more efficient. I mean, they're running like a well-oiled machine right now anyways, but if I had to do it over again, I would use Curation Suite. Okay. Also, guys, Mastermind members, you guys will all be getting Content Kingpin. It will be. We haven't made that post yet, have we?
No, we needed to get over the launch, make sure everything was smooth, and then later this week we'll
okay.
Get them set up.
Okay, just wanted to everybody just be
I'll have to
patient.
check.
You guys
Chris might have posted in there. Regardless, if not, it's going to happen this week. So.
Okay. Oh, Chris posted right here. Yeah, right there. Sorry, that was just above. So. Yeah, so anybody that's a Mastermind member or purchased Curation Mastery, which was the old version of the course, just contact us at support@semanticmastery.com, and we'll be happy to hook you up with the updated version. Earl says, RSS Authority Sniper question. Confused as to what type of info I should be putting in the RankFeedr Authority Feed Details page 3B. Feed title, should it be keyword rich, attract viewers, or what? Both, Earl. I mean, if you can squeeze a keyword in there but make it a compelling type title, that's what you should be doing. I mean, that's, keyword specific titles aren't really the best way to, that's not really good for marketing. Like, you know what I mean? It's good for SEO, but you want a compelling title. So if you can squeeze a keyword in there with like a call to action or something that's like a headline, like a hook, that piques interest or curiosity, then that's something that you'd want to do. For the feed tag, it allows 10. Should I just be filling this in with keywords? Yeah, but you can. Yeah, you can put keywords in. I mean, that's typically what you'll do, but you don't have to put 10 in every time, just so you guys know that. Just because there's 10 slots doesn't mean you have to put 10 in. Like, typically, I'll just pick out, 2 or 3 or the main keywords and stick them in. You can fill it out with 10 if you want. Just use a good variety of co-occurring keywords, LSIs, that kind of thing. Advice on static first, top, random, etc. Ping on publish, first drip ping, and comments on how often and why. I don't think that really matters so much, personally. I just usually have it set up at static at first, and that's it. I mean, that's just the way I set them up. I haven't set up a whole lot of them, though, so I don't really think it matters. I gotta think that Lisa Allen has a Facebook group or something for RankFeedr and RSS Authority Sniper, and I would say probably want to ask in one of the groups from some of the heavy users that have a lot more testing behind it than I do. Hernan or Marco, have you guys used it much? RankFeedr?
No. Yeah, but not in reality. Like, I'm trying to think of an example that I've used it. No, the only way that I've used it was for forwarding YouTube videos, but that's pretty much it. Not for anything else.
Okay.
Like, not for forwarding website. Not yet, at least. We will definitely need to try. But I guess that my guessing is that being much easier, you could over optimize a little bit and it will be fine.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because it's not the same. These are RSS feeds, guys, that you're just submitting to aggregators and directories. So it's not the same as like over-optimizing links that are pointing to your site. It's not the same. So you can be a little heavy on the optimization. That's fine. But I always say just try to use common sense. If you're hammering away at the same keyword across every field that you can enter text and it's the same keyword, well then I just would assume it wouldn't work all that well. But Earl, again, I mentioned, if I had more experience with it, I would give you some better data. But I would recommend, number one, reaching out to some of the. I've got to assume that she's got some sort of Facebook group or something. So some of these questions could be answered by people that are real heavy users of it. And the other thing is just test. Test it and see. And that's because even other people, when they give advice, it's still worthy of a test on your part. Right? So my point is, go ahead and set up a feed one way for one post, and then set up a feed another way for another post and track your results. Put it in a rank tracker and see which ones are giving you better results, like, you know, which configuration gives you the best results. And then if one configuration outperforms another, then you need to set up another test to verify or confirm that that data is consistent, right? That's a repeatable event, or repeatable results.
And thanks to Greg, he just posted the Facebook group. So anyone who's
Awesome.
looking for that, it's the top comment up there. Thanks,
There you
Greg.
go.
Yeah, and just if I can add to this, my take on this is that you shouldn't really be concerned about hammering away with keywords on this, because what you're looking for is you're siphoning that authority and that topical trust, right, for the topical trust algorithm.
In co-citation.
Right, and you're looking for exactly for that co-citation. So all of that together, the bot is smart enough to take all of that relevancy and say that's what this is about, and without you needing to do all of this other stuff, without you having to worry. Okay, should I hammer it with keywords? Should I add it here? Should I add it there? What else should I do? What you're trying to siphon is the authority from these other feeds, and again, the topical trust. And as Bradley mentioned, the co-citation. That's what you're looking to do, to push all this back to wherever your feed is originating. That's how I see the purpose of RankFeedr.
Yeah, and you know, Hummingbird and RankBrain are both evolved enough, advanced enough to be able to make that association too. So you know, that's the thing. You don't have to hammer away on the same keyword. Is my point. Just like Marco said. Love that meme, Wayne. It's awesome. All right, Braulio says, this might not be the right place for the question, but here goes. What is the main difference between SerpShaker and LeadGadget? I've heard Bradley say that the ATM is the industrial version of SerpShaker, but how so? If the answer is that LeadGadget builds entire sites and SerpShaker is just a plugin, Andreas released SerpShaker Control Center, which builds SS sites en masse. So does this bring SS to the same level of LeadGadget? I'm not here to put down anybody's products or anything like that. So all I can say is I stopped using SerpShaker when I started using LeadGadget or the ATM very heavily. And so I'm not familiar with the evolution of SerpShaker. So I really can't comment on that. And besides that, Andres is a friend of Semantic Mastery as well. And so you just have to make the decision. I can't tell you because I haven't used the SerpShaker Control Center what the difference is. I know that the ATM has massive amounts of coding behind it now, and part because not just from Don, but also from Marco and our team. And I know that we have kind of a unique relationship with that. And so again, I'm not here to put down SerpShaker Control Center. I have no idea. I haven't used it. I know it's a good product. A lot of people like it. A lot of people use it. So I can't really answer that other than the fact that I use exclusively LeadGadget and the ATM, and again, because we have kind of a relationship with them that's beyond just us using the product. Okay, we've got a vested interest in it. Does that make sense, Marco? Do you want to comment on that at all? We're kind of in a precarious position trying to comment on that.
No, not really, because I haven't used the control center. I've only used the SerpShaker plugin. That's all. That's the only thing that I could speak on if I were to speak. As far as the SerpShaker control center, I mean, we'd have to have access to it. I can tell you from having had a behind-the-scenes look to what LeadGadget is. I mean, it's above and beyond anything that you could possibly imagine. The amounts of code and work that has gone into this, but both into lessening the footprint, being able to grant you speed, being able to pull in content sources. I mean, just everything. We're still working on it. We're adding schema. We're adding, I mean, just a whole bunch of different things that will make this even more, that will allow people to make each site more unique, each site that they mass produce, even though it's mass produced. And that's really all I can say is what I've seen and what I've worked on, rather than speak on what Andres is doing. Maybe we need to invite Andres over so that he can talk about his control center.
Yep. Okay, Ethan's up. He says, hey, I purchased several full 2-tier IFTTT networks from Serpspace, and I just wanted to confirm with you guys that I am safe with the default anchor text generated by all these properties. Well, okay, Ethan, yeah, I mean, again, when we deliver, as far as I know, Adam, we are still sending out with delivery the links to the best practices series, correct?
Sorry, I had myself muted. Yes, we are, and it's I'll double check on that though, just to make sure something isn't broken or any of that, because it should have a link in there. So a
Just so
couple
you
months
know,
ago, I check every once in a while.
that's in the Done For You IFTTT funnel series if you need the links. But yeah, I mean, just usually when we send, I mean, as far as I know, when we deliver the networks, we send out the best practices, and we totally recommend, Ethan, that whenever you're using two-tier networks for blog syndication, that you make sure, and this is not something that we're going to do in Serpspace. We will not do this. This is something that you're going to have to do once we deliver the networks, and that's gather your own related content feeds and make sure that you set up the Tier 2 triggers so that you're reducing or minimizing your footprint for blog syndication, because that can create an issue. Remember, when you're syndicating content to a branded network, you don't care about a footprint because you are just doing what you're expected to do, and that's sharing your own content to your own branded properties. They're just extensions of your brand, so there's no footprint issues. Where the footprint issues come in is with blog syndication when you start stacking networks and doing tiered networks, because then you're doing it clearly to manipulate search results, and that's against Google's terms of service. Okay, and that can get you into trouble. So you can minimize or reduce any footprint issues by injecting additional related content sources into the Tier 2 triggers so that your second tier networks get populated with additional related content from other sources. Okay, and we talk about that in the training. We talk about that in the IFTTT Best Practices series, and we've talked about it on Hump Day Hangouts probably 350 times. This makes 351. So just be careful with that. Yeah, the default anchor text, the only anchor text that's generated is the anchor text that you create when you're blogging from your distribution source, which would be your blog, right? And the attribution links, which usually are going to use the title of the post as the anchor text to link back to the original post. Now, keep in mind, the other part of this is if you're using, there's two types of attribution links. There's an attribution link, the type or attribution link format that we use for single-tier networks, and then there's the attribution link format that we use for two-tier networks, and it's different. And that's explained right here on this page as well, which is also explained in the training. But let's just go look it up, RSS recipes. Let's see if I can find it. There it is. This is the page here, guys. I'll drop it on the event page. But right here, the RSS recipes, there's training here for this. And then we even talk about spin tags to use for RSS plugin when building a branded network only. So when doing a tiered network only, or excuse me, a tier 1 network only, then you'd want to use this type of spin tags if you're using our plugin. If you're not using our plugin, then you don't have the ability to spin the attribution text, but you can still create the attribution text. If you're using tiered networks, you want to omit the link back to the home page in the attribution text. Okay, so in other words, when you're doing single tier network syndication, then typically you're going to link to the this post, and you use the title of the post as the anchor text to link to the post. Was originally published on, and then you link to the actual home page of the blog, right, of the money site. But when you're doing a two-tier network, you want to omit the link to the home page to where you're just building a link back to the actual post using the title as the anchor text. Okay, and again, that's covered right here. It's covered inside the training, and it should be covered in the best practices series that gets delivered with the Done For You network. So you're not in any trouble or anything, Ethan, if you haven't been doing that, but I recommend that you immediately go find some related content sources, grab some feeds, and set up the additional triggers on the Tier 2 networks so that you start populating those Tier 2 networks with other people's content as well. Okay? Ethan's next question, also I'm curious how to know how to bump an older post to the top of the RSS feed. Wow, this question, I'm not upset with you, Ethan. This question has come up, I swear, at least twice a week for the last month. Do we not have a FAQ for this one?
We do. I'll get that. If you want to go on to the next question, I'll grab it and post it up there for Ethan.
All right. Well, just really quickly, I'm going to post in here. If you have our premium version of the plugin, if you're a Mastermind member, our plugin will do that for you. The RSS plugin, you have to be a Mastermind member to get it. It's not for sale. So, if you want it, you got to join the Mastermind. Otherwise, if you use republish old posts, and I'll say WordPress, going to be the first link, guys. This one right here. This is a plugin that you can download or install on your site. It's free, and it's called Republish Old Posts. And there's some settings. I'm not going to walk through how to set it up. There's help files and everything else. But you can actually use this to reinsert posts that have already been published back into your feed for resyndication. Okay? So this is Republish Old Posts. Check it out. It's free. Let's see. Paul Fussell. Yeah, okay. Link for the upsell. Did you give that to him?
I asked him to, yeah, he's going to
Okay.
get in contact with us.
Yeah, just so you guys know, if anybody, you don't want to buy the Tube Kingpin upsell unless you have Content Kingpin, because it's based on the principles taught in Content Kingpin. It really wouldn't make sense to just buy that by itself, just so you know. Okay, Greg says RSS never works great and has measurable results each submission. Yeah, Greg, that is very cool. So thank you for that, by the way. Jordan says, is there any semantic mastery plan for a course on maps pack ranking? Jordan Fowler. Well, yeah, Jordan. There's a few. Number one, the MasterClass training. Right? In the MasterClass training, we walk through the local case study, which again, if you join the MasterClass, we cancel your IFTTT SEO Academy payments because MasterClass includes IFTTT SEO Academy. Just like Mastermind includes MasterClass and IFTTT SEO Academy and pretty much everything else that we do that's under $300. If it's over $300, then you get a 30% discount. Okay, so we have tiered products. Each time you step up, you get the products below it, included with your subscription. Okay, so MasterClass has training on the local case study, which I mentioned at the beginning of this webinar. That site is still ranking today. I haven't done any work whatsoever since July of last year. It's still ranking today for 4 out of the 5 keywords, and I walk through step by step on exactly how to do that. All right. Plus, we also have, well, in the Mastermind, we cover stuff every other week when we do our webinars that are 2 and sometimes 2.5 hours long. So, you know, there's a ton of stuff in there about that. But specifically, we also have RYS Academy. RYS Academy and the speed ranking course was specifically for maps ranking, and it works like gangbusters. Do we have a link for that we can drop for him? For the speed ranking course, there's the full RYS Academy course, and then there's the speed ranking course, which is specifically a case study that I did with the RYS methods for a local site that's ranked #1 in maps right now, and all I did was RYS Academy stuff, methods, nothing else. Okay.
Yeah, we'll get that on there shortly.
If I can just add about RYS Academy, we just had a fabulous testimonial dropped in there by Daryl on how he went from nowhere to he just started ranking for just dozens of keywords. As soon as that stack was built, right, what we call the drive stack, as soon as it was built, I mean, just a few days later, the website just started jumping. The Google dance, of course, because you're link building, even though you're not really, you're just doing stuff to carry relevancy over to whatever it is that you're doing. But it just shows, I mean, and he does the screenshot. There's a video in there on the latest that he did. Bradley's videos are in there on local map pack rankings. So everything that you need to rank in the 3-pack is there.
Yeah, and that's the thing, you know, it's crazy, but Daryl's post was great because he at first started the drive stack and like everything disappeared in search results, and he was like freaking out. And so he asked us, you know, what should I do? And we said, relax, you know, take a breather, take a few days, let it settle in, because you just did a whole lot with building a drive stack. And sure enough, he left it alone, and that's what he updated that post and shared some screenshots showing the jump in ranks and all that. And he's got, you know, many keywords ranking now, and that's all he had done was the RYS drive stack. So it definitely works great. It works really good for local. Okay, next. Jordan says, is there any semantic mastery plan? Oh, I'm sorry, that's one that I just answered. I think there is a need for a course on how to use proxies, VPNs, how to go to stealth, best practices for marketers, and IFTTT V2 members. Maybe. Well, the whole first module inside of IFTTT SEO Academy is about how to use proxies properly, you know, with Firefox. And then I also have an additional training on specifically how to use Browsio. And we're going to be having a webinar with the Browsio developer, Simon Daddia, next Wednesday. So he's about to launch version 3 of it, and it's a solid product. If you're doing a lot of building yourself, or if you have a lot of virtual assistants that are building, I highly recommend that you get it. It's worth the additional cost because of the efficiency that it provides with being able to build. So I use Browsio for the Video Marketing Blitz software, which we promoted a couple weeks ago or whatever. That's Ab's product, which is a really good product, but it requires having a bunch of, each YouTube account has its own dedicated proxy, and you have to create the API credentials, and you always have to log back in using the same proxy, the same IP. So you just set up Browsio and just install all of your, I have one of my virtual assistants, he just added 60 YouTube accounts with 60 dedicated proxies, one per account, and he just added all that to the Video Marketing Blitz software over the last couple days, because that's what we're doing. So Browsio makes it very, very simple, because you can have one window open with a whole bunch of different browser tabs. Each tab has its own proxy, its own IP, and it's completely independent and separate from the other IPs. So there's no crossover, there's no bleed over, no leakage, right? IP leakage, right? So Browsio is a very, very powerful software too, Greg, and we cover that inside of the IFTTT SEO training. And again, we're going to have Simon Daddy on next week, which again, we may make it public. It's going to be the MasterClass webinar, but we may make it public, and it's going to be from 4:30 to 6 p.m. next Wednesday. So I know we're about out of time, guys. Let's finish up these last couple ones. Jordan says also, as to my recent experience with Squarespace site and IFTTT SEO network, run like a scalded dog. What a headache. Finally convinced client to let us migrate to WordPress. If anyone has a client with Squarespace site, say we migrate or no dice. Unless you're feeling like Tony Romo day after day. That's awesome, Jordan. Thank you for that. All right, last one. Jordan says, so can one join Mastermind at this point and not feel miles behind? Yeah, Jordan. And the reason why is because, I mean, you can go through the archives, the library of past webinars, which is immense by this point, because we've been doing the Mastermind. Remember, we were doing the Mastermind, I think, 6 months before we even opened it to the public. Maybe, well, even longer than that, really. When we were just a very small private group before we had even become Semantic Mastery, we had been doing webinars. Some of those are in the archives, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Adam, but I think, don't we have like 2.5 years worth of content in there?
Yeah, there's a lot.
But obviously I recommend that you would start off with the most recent webinars and work your way back, because at some point you're going to start seeing some information that's no longer outdated. You know what I mean? Or that's no longer up to date because of how stuff evolves. So I would just start with the most recent webinars and work your way back. And then once you start seeing some information that had been contradicted on a more recent webinar, that's when I would stop. But there's still some evergreen stuff in there that doesn't change, and that's the thing. If you have anything specifically that you want to find, you can always post in the Mastermind community and ask for some recommendations. Okay, and we can point you in the right direction, or some of the other Mastermind members, because again, I guarantee you, if you're unclear about something and you post it in the Mastermind community, somebody else in the Mastermind had been unclear about it as well, and it got resolved, so they can help you. And that's part of the reason it's called a Mastermind, guys, and not just a group, because it's not just about us teaching you guys stuff. It's about all of us collaborating together. Like, we learn as much from our students as they learn from us, and that's the truth, because we have a lot of really savvy people in the Mastermind. That contribute and post content that they find, and questions and case studies, and so it truly is a Mastermind community.
Yeah,
right?
Not only that, I mean, talk about the power. This is the power. It's even helped us and others, like Bradley's saying, like Serpspace. That came about in part because of a Mastermind member, right? That's how that happened. I mean, it's crazy, the power, and that's how we started. So just my 2 cents.
Yep, and that's the truth. Semantic Mastery formed because of a previous Mastermind that we were all in, and then Serpspace is that's a collaboration between Semantic Mastery and Rank Us Now, who's a Mastermind member, Roman and his crew. So there's a lot of really good connections that can be made, guys. Okay, last. Ganti says, please make the Browsio, I guess, by Daddy public. Really appreciate it. Yeah, Ganti, I think we're going to. Even if we don't make it public for the actual live webinar, we're probably going to push the replay out. I know he's going to do a limited release on version 3, and I think once he fills those slots, he's going to close it down and just to work out any bugs. But then it'll reopen. So either way, I'm pretty sure we're going to make it public. I can't swear to it just yet. I got to get clarification from him as to what he wants us to do. All right. Okay, let's see. Would love to see live reviews of the tools that are on your resource page. I have several that I would like to leave. We would love to see live reviews of the tools that are on your resources page. I have several I would like to leave. I don't know what that really means, Greg.
I probably just so we can pick the best, right? Instead of, because we offer several. If we're using them, there's generally several options for, let's say, VSL tools is one I'm thinking of. So like being able to see them before you do that. So yeah, that's good. We've thought about that. It's tough just because of the vast amount of stuff out there. But it's something we are thinking about, and it's funny actually, Greg. This may get us light the fire under our ass again. We talked about this recently. So anyways, that could be coming. So we'll see what we can do.
Okay. Sweet. Well, this was a good one, guys. We got all the questions answered, too. It was good timing. So, all right, guys. Well, everybody, thanks for being here. What do we got tomorrow? Tomorrow's the Tube Kingpin webinar for anybody that purchased Content Kingpin and Tube Kingpin. We're doing the webinar tomorrow, which goes into Zane's going to be hosting that, talking about tube spinning and curating YouTube videos and all that. So anybody who wants it, check it out. Otherwise, we'll see you all next week. And don't forget, next week the Hump Day Hangout's going to be 30 minutes early, so we're going to start at 3:30 p.m. and go till 4:30 p.m. Okay?
Sounds good. So for anybody who hasn't bought into Content Kingpin or who's maybe on the border, why I'm totally pimping ourselves, but why should they go buy it so that they can go to this webinar? Like, what's so cool about the webinar?
Well, I guess it's the introduction to tube spinning. Zane's hosting it, so I don't have the actual content in front of me as to what it's going to be teaching, but it's going to be like essentially laying out what tube spinning is all about and how curating curating YouTube videos and building remarketing lists and all that kind of stuff, which is really the core of the Tube Kingpin training. The replay will be put inside the members area anyway, so even if you guys don't get it before the webinar tomorrow, you'll still be able to see the replay of the webinar. But again, the price goes up tomorrow, so if you're going to get it now while it's cheaper. So.
Sounds good. All right, awesome.
All right, thanks everybody. Thanks Hernan and Marco.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.